So last year I started blogging September 2020, and it was something that I've never done before. And so this year it's my 1 year anniversary. So I wanted to read my blog for this month. So the title of it is "We Only Have One Life to Live, so make sure you're living your best life." A few weeks ago, I was at work, and one of my regular customers entered the lobby, and I left my office and I went to speak to Mr. John Doe. Name, of course, changed for privacy reasons. And I gave Mr. Doe a hug, and I asked how he's been because it had been a while since I'd seen him. And Mr. Doe stated that he had been given a diagnosis of terminal illness, and I gave him my apologies. And he said for me not to apologize because he's lived a good life. He said he was at peace and ready to be with God whenever the last breath left his body. And I was shocked, and I told him that I never in my 44 years of living heard anyone say that. And he told me his reason why. And his why was a promise that he made to God over 50 years ago. Mr. Doe was drafted for the Vietnam War, and at that time, his wife was pregnant with her son and expected to deliver at any moment. He was granted permission to stay at home for 3 months with her and the baby. He said during those 3 months that some of the people he knew from his hometown were killed in the war. And when the time came for him to leave, he said he didn't want to leave his wife, his new baby, and was afraid of the possibility of him losing his wife's life as well. Mr. Doe told me that he prayed before he left, and he said that he asked God if he would allow him to go to war, return back safely, that he'd serve him to the day he died. He said that was a promise that he kept, and that was why he was at peace with his soon-to-be death. His story really did something to me, and I began to reflect over my life. I haven't been to war, but I've had things that have been earth-shattering to my soul, moments that made me feel as if the wind had been knocked out of my chest, and days and nights that I've cried nonstop. I've experienced hurt that I would not want anyone else to feel. I've been lied on. I've asked God why did I have to endure those things, and wondered if the truth would ever be revealed. During some of those moments, I became stressed and depressed, and I couldn't understand the why. And recently in prayer, God let me know that we might not always understand why people do some of the things that they do. I needed to quit stressing over those things, such as trying to understand those type of people. And God wouldn't let me give up. He gave me the strength to keep going, to hang on, and to share my testimony with someone else that might be going through something similar. And I want people to know that no matter what, no matter how hard it gets, to never give up. This June, I went to Jamaica for my birthday, and a lot of people asked me, was I afraid of going to travel internationally alone? And I wasn't, because I was at peace within my spirit. There were several eventful things that happened that I could have let ruin my trip. Before I left Memphis, I left my paperwork in the truck. I left my paperwork in the hotel room for my COVID test. I almost didn't get tested. And then the photographer didn't show up for my photo shoot that I hired for the beach. But despite all those hiccups, God showed me favor the entire trip. I went into more detail in my July blog in case you missed it. But my goal is to shift the mindset when a situation arises. It could be this, but it could also be that. Think about the quantum theory that we were taught growing up in our science class. It says for every negative, there's a positive. And that's the outlook I'm trying to live in my life. I bring up Jamaica for these reasons. I too said a prayer to God, and it was my last day there in Jamaica that gave God complete control over some situations that were going on in my life that were becoming overwhelming. In life, there's going to be sadness, heartaches, and disappointments. I was going to my therapist and praying and asking God to help me endure. And while I was there, I told God that I could not fix those situations. I said I cannot understand everything that I'm going through, but I put all those situations in His hands. I know that I put those situations in His hands. I would have to stop trying to fix it myself and know that He would take care of me and the situations. I gave it all to Him on that day, and just as much as the trip was pleasure, it was also spiritual and therapeutic for me as well. And I know we've all heard the saying that life is short, and it really is. We can be here today and be gone tomorrow. Think about it. There are people that you've talked to on the phone, and a few days later, that person was gone from earth. We were unable to prepare for that person's death. We're left shocked and hurting because of the quick demise. Sometimes we have a family member or friend that is diagnosed with the illness as Mr. Doe. The person is only given a few months to live. What do we do at that time? Do we sit and wonder about the things we could have done? Do we reflect on life and the things that we could have accomplished? Do we think about the relationships that we have with our friends and loved ones? What could we do to make it better or to improve it? Do we think about that and ourselves And do we try to live our lives to the best of our abilities? Here's something else. Sometimes we get caught up wondering what other people would say about us if we do a certain thing. And I can't lie. In the past, that's something that I've struggled with on a regular basis. But thanks to be to God, I no longer care. I wonder if I wore something, if I would be criticized, if I said a certain things or voiced a certain opinion about something, would I be criticized? We cannot control what people say about us. We can't control what people think about us, but we can control how we respond to those things. We have to learn to not give people power and control over our lives. People will always have something to say. And if we're sad, they'll say, why is she sad? What's wrong with them? If we're happy, they'll think that we're pretending. So we just need to move on, not focus on them, and we can't get caught up on the opinions of others. Life is truly short. It doesn't matter if you made a promise to God. It doesn't matter if you could care less what people say or do about you. It doesn't matter if you have someone spreading lies on you. It doesn't matter if you've been through a bit of divorce. It doesn't matter if you've lost friends that you thought would be there all your life. It doesn't matter if you lost the job that you thought you would have, that you would retire from one day. I'm not saying that those things aren't meaningful, nor am I saying that those things won't bother you. I'm saying that you can't quit living your life when things happen. Don't get caught up on people. Don't give them your peace that you have worked so hard to get to. Time is something that we cannot get back. How we spend our time is important. And we don't want to reflect back on our lives and think of the shoulda, woulda, and coulda. We need to live our lives to the fullest. We need to live our lives with no regrets. Do what's best for you and no one else. I want to be like Mr. Doe and be at peace with myself and within my spirit when my time comes here on earth, when my time here on earth comes to an end. And at the end of the day, you only have one life to live, and make sure you're living your best.